Having a big sister means many things, but for this young man, losing that sister created a hole in his world that he could not fill. Listen to the hundreds of lives who have been touched because of one woman's fight with inflammatory breast cancer and one brother's determination to make sure that it didn't happen to another young woman. Let's talk about your breast. A different kind of podcast presented to you by The Rose, a breast center of excellence and a Texas treasure. You're going to hear frank discussions about tough topics, and you're going to learn why knowing about your breast could save your life. Join us as we hear another story and we answer those tough questions that you may have. I'm Dorothy Gibbons, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of The Rose, and we're here to talk about your breast. Today we have with us one amazing young man who has been a part of The Rose's life for quite a while, and he's here to talk about something he did that has brought so much awareness to young women especially, and to other folks who are interested in breast cancer in total. So, Daniel, I know you're a engineer. You're working oil and gas, but besides Danny, your main love is running, right?
That's right.
So, and I mean, you've had quite a successful history of running. Tell me the marathons that you've been in.
Oh yeah, thank you, Dorothy. Running has been a big part of my life since about 2005, and coincidentally, the year that my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer. I started running at work with a group of older guys. You know, at the time, I guess I was mid-20s, and they were in their probably 50s or so. So I thought, let me go out for a run with these guys. And so since 2005, I've been I think I've run upwards of about 22 or 23 marathons, and handful of for a lot of half marathons and 5Ks and 10Ks and all that good stuff. Even did one 50-miler, unsanctioned 50-miler, but I did at Memorial Park. So on a 3-mile loop, I did a 50-mile run there. But then of course 30 for Anna, which is a 30-mile run. So.
Right. Wow. So tell us a little bit about Anna.
Sure. So obviously Anna Barron Garcia, my sister. She's about 6 years older than me. She was the second oldest of four kids, and me being the youngest. So to me, she was, besides my mom and my other sister, she was also like kind of like a mother figure to me, right? She was always looking out for me, always just, a caretaker, right? With not just me, but just all kids and family in general. She was like the life of the party. Whenever anybody met her, they were just drawn to her laughter, her sense of humor, just her overall ability to just take care of people. So she was a big, part of our family. Just like, my other sister and my brother, but, she was just, there was something about her being the oldest and, knowing, how to baby me. I always say she spoiled me because she did quite spoil me, but she was married. She'd been married, I don't know how long, but had 2 kids, Maverick and the youngest, and Brianna, the oldest. So like I said, she was just the life of the party. She was just, everybody loved her and everybody wanted to be around her.
So like you said, it was in 2005 when she was diagnosed.
That's right.
But it took a while for her to get that diagnosis of inflammatory breast cancer.
That's right. So Maverick was born in, I think, July of 2004. And Anna was diagnosed in May 5th, 2005. Coincidentally, her husband's birthday. So I know, inflammatory breast cancer. It starts with a rash or some discoloration around the breast, and so I think her initial doctor diagnosed it as just mastitis. Or I think like a rash. I think what it was. And they told her, or maybe it was like they told her maybe it was your detergent or something. So just change it up. And so I think it went misdiagnosed for I think twice. Not until she came into the Rose is when they realized what it was.
Yeah. And that's not uncommon because usually inflammatory breast cancer is found most often in women under 40, most often in very young women, and it always appears just like a rash.
Sure.
And so the immediate diagnosis is often, oh, well, that's some kind of dermatitis. Let's put some antibiotic on it or some cream. But it is also one of the rarest cancers. There's less than 5% of all the cancers that are inflammatory. And not even 2,500 women a year are diagnosed with it, but it's a very aggressive one. In fact, at the time of diagnosis, it's actually considered almost metastatic. I mean, it's been there, you don't see it, it's so insidious, so I just want to mention something you said that was very important. She had just had a baby, and we find most cancer in young women within the 2 years after they had a baby. So it's just so important. There's so many changes that go on in the breast at that time. And here's a rash, and you just think, oh well, it's just the changes. So we just want to keep beating that home. If you find something, it needs to be checked.
That's right.
So we diagnosed her, and I have to intersect here because Anna was very important to us. We had just started, or had it about a year, a young women's clinic, and it was for women under 40. It had a special program for them. Anna came, and she was our very first young woman to be diagnosed. And it was like,
Right. And she was 30.
And she was 30.
When she was diagnosed. So, I mean, that was just, I think about that now. I'm 41, and just to think that, her life was cut short at, just 5 years later after she was diagnosed at 35, and just like, wow, she didn't live past 35. It's just kind of, it's just hard to imagine, Mm-hmm. So it's unreal though, for sure, being so young.
And I can echo what you were saying about her personality. Even when she was having chemotherapy, going through all of her treatment, she was the first one to volunteer to be out there with us as an advocate for young women. I mean, it was just amazing where she found that strength and energy and, the willingness for her to be out there. And when other young women would see her, they'd go, well, it does happen to young women. So she was an incredible resource in that education part for us. And, of course, when she got to the end stages of the treatment, it wasn't really working. Yeah. And so when did she die?
She was with us for 5 years, and she passed away on May 17th. 2010. So it was almost 5 years to the day. It wasn't until I would say November of 2009 is whenever we saw her like really deteriorating, like her condition, and that's when the doctors at MD Anderson just basically said there's nothing else we could do. So they're just going to have to suggest home hospice for her. And sorry,
that's all right.
And I think of the story that Jerry tells her husband. Mm-hmm. When the doctor told him that, on the way home from the hospital, she said, what does hospice mean? What does that mean? She had no idea. She had no idea. Yeah. And so, fortunately, it was going to be home hospice, wasn't going to be in a facility. And so, luckily enough, Jerry was... he's self-employed, so he was able to make her comfortable at home. And of course, we were there, day in and day out, just, taking care of her as much as we could. And so from, I guess it was December 2009 until it was like a week or a few days before she passed away, she was at home. And then it was, I still remember, and she eventually had to get moved to a facility the last couple of days because that was the house that the kids are going to live in. So it was just kind of, okay, let's move her to a facility for, a couple of days. And she moved to the Houston hospice, right there near MD Anderson. And I remember that I was there that night when the ambulance came to take her, and it was just the most unreal thing because it's just it was at night, and the sky just opened up and just poured and poured. And I mean, it was like torrential downpours, and I mean, it was literally flooding. And we got to the hospice, and so she spent her last few days there at the hospice, and I lived nearby there in the medical center, and it was a few days later, it was like, 2 or 3 in the morning, we got a text, saying that my sister had passed away. But that day that she passed away, it was the most beautiful day that you could imagine. It was, blue, clear skies. It was cool, crisp day. Even in the fact that it was May, it was just a beautiful day. So it was just, she was ready. It was time. And another kind of story behind it is my other sister was pregnant at the time, and 5 days before Anna passed away, my sister had a baby, and they named her Anna. So Anna now is, I guess, 12 years old. So she holds Anna's name, and so that was just another just remarkable thing. Like I said, the day she passed away, it was just a beautiful day, and then so it's heartbreaking to talk about it and think about it, but she gave us, after she was diagnosed, 5 years, and she was just, even those that last few months we had with her, she was still the life of the party, trying to make us laugh and stuff like that. So so it's a tough story. It's even 12 years later, it's tough to tell, but I'm happy that I'm able to tell her story.
Right, and just share how much it impacted the entire family.
Sure.
Yeah, we always say breast cancer isn't an individual disease; it's a family disease.
Right.
Now, Anna knew that she had a namesake, right?
Oh yes, she knew that my sister was going to name her Anna, and she actually got to meet her. So my sister had her baby, and obviously she was a newborn. But Anna, at that time, Anna was already unresponsive and couldn't talk and barely open her eyes. But my sister brought her to meet her aunt. Anna met Anna, and my sister was laying there in the bed, and they held hands, and she was able to touch her face, and it seemed like, to us, that's what she was waiting for. That's why she held on for so long, because she knew that my sister was going to have a baby, and she wanted to meet her.
Oh, yeah. What a precious story.
Yeah,
it really is. So you are dealing with her grief, and you're a young man. Sure. I mean, you haven't had a lot of grief or a lot of death in your family.
That was a huge blow to the family, for sure.
Yeah. I know it took some time to work through it, but what gave you the idea to start something in her honor?
What actually gave me the inspiration were other runners that were doing fundraisers and running miles and miles and miles and raising money for different charities and stuff like that. So I thought, well, let me kind of do the same thing. Here I am running just for fun, and I'm using my sister's her story, and it's motivating me to run, but let me just try to do a little something more. And so 2012, myself, my sister, and Jerry, and my brother John, we decided to put a run together where we were running 30 miles from MD Anderson, there in the medical center, to Grandview Cemetery where she's buried, and just to obviously keep her memory alive, but also help raise money for women that need it. Because Anna took advantage of the Rose and the services they were able to offer. And so it was just like, well, here I am running all these miles, let me put it to even better use. And so we came up with the idea, and the last 2 years we've raised over $200,000. Yes. And we've gone from a really big event to now a little smaller, and I'm trying to look towards the future of what we can do differently to make the event even bigger.
Yes, and that the funds that you've raised have gone to young women's health and services, and it's meant so much. But, Daniel, you almost just kind of went over that 30 miles like it is nothing. I mean, that is an incredible run. That's more than a marathon. That's more, yes.
Right.
And so it starts at MD Anderson very early in the morning. Then you go to... So
from MD Anderson, like I said, she spent her last few days at Houston Hospice, which is just, not too far from MD Anderson. And we stopped there and just kind of remember her. And then we head basically this way to the Rose, which is, basically 20 miles down the road. And we stop here at the Rose, and you guys are always here to greet us and, take photos. And then from the Rose, we head to Grandview Cemetery there in Deer Park.
And so I want folks to understand that this is not a huge run. Right. There's not 100 people involved. It's about
I mean, now, like I said, it's kind of dwindled down, and I'm trying to figure out what the best solution is to make it a little bigger. Yeah. So now it's just basically down to me, my sister, and kind of how we started. We started as just the family doing it, and it's kind of back down to that. But again, I have plans for the future of hopefully making it something bigger, even if it's me still doing the 30 miles in her memory, but also maybe doing a 5K of some sort, where we can have more participation. Because in the past there was a lot more people who wanted to do the run, but we were limited on our resources, and we had to say, okay, well, everybody had to run together. So if we do a 5K, more people can come out. We can have a lot more support, more people participate, whether they walk, they run, or whatever they want to do. So that's kind of my hopefully near future goal of the run.
I knew you had big plans. I didn't realize that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of the hopefully near future of what I kind of want to turn into.
Yeah. I so remember, because it was only about 30 people, that were running the first time I ever got to watch this. And not all of them could run the 30 miles. They did it in splits. And, yeah.
They were able to split up their mileage, like 5 mile increments or whatever it was.
And your mom and dad were in their 30 for Anna truck that was all covered in pink, following alongside you. And that great, is it Pasadena policeman that always goes with you?
One of my cousins who would support our run and kind of keep us safe there on the road.
Yeah. Right. Real family affair.
It was.
And I remember Maverick running, but he only did a little bit. So what year was it that he actually almost made a lot of miles?
I think he ended up running 20 miles at one point. He was only so he was 5 when Anna passed away, and then I think he was probably 10 or 11. So, almost like 8 years ago or so, he ran 20 miles.
Wow.
Here he is at 10 years old, and is it the best thing to do? Best thing for a 10-year-old to do? No, but he split up his miles, and he would run a little bit, and then he would get in the car and he'd run a little bit more, and he made it a long way. So he was using his mom as his motivation, to get him going to run all those miles, which is incredible.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I also remember that, after the end at the cemetery, everyone gathers around her grave. And there could be 50 people there just that come out to cheer you on the last few miles and to be there with you. And I will never forget the first time when Maverick went over and touched the gravestone and said, "Hi, Mama."
Right. Yeah, and that's just all the support we had is just a testament of again, like I touched on earlier, of how Anna just touched so many lives, and she was just fun to be around. And we have a great family, great friends, and they're always there to support us. So. And they've supported us through all the years, so without our family and friends, we wouldn't have been able to raise that much money or keep her memory alive.
That's so true, so true. But you did more than that, because you've been on dozens of interviews, TV, radio, media, newspaper, and you've always took that opportunity not just to talk about the race, but to talk about inflammatory breast cancer.
Sure.
And at the time that Anna was diagnosed, actually there wasn't a lot of information out there about it. It's because it's such a rare cancer, of course, but it's still one that we have to catch early. It used to be that it was, if you lived that 5 years with advanced inflammatory breast cancer, that was good. Now it has extended. We have much longer life.
That's great.
As long as we can get it found and diagnosed for what it is, and get into treatment. So I've always appreciated that you were willing to share her story, because it makes it real. It's not just here's a symptom. It makes it real.
Right.
It's a young woman whose life was cut short, who left kids behind, and a family that just adored her. Yeah. So you bring her alive every time that you do this. We appreciate that. So, what is it you would want? What's the one thing you would want young women to know today?
So it's knowing your body, obviously, knowing the signs, and like we know, because of inflammatory breast cancer, breast cancer doesn't always just start with a lump. If there's any kind of anything abnormal that you see or that you feel, then just know that you need to get checked out, right? And you guys stress that a lot. I mean, I think it's stressed out there a lot, in the community. I mean, people know. It just seems like now there's cancer is so prominent. I mean, there's just all different types. So I think people are more aware of if they notice something's wrong. So I mean, I think it's knowing your body and knowing what's what's not normal is the best way to handle it. And if something doesn't look normal, then go get it checked out.
So again, though, 12 years ago, that wasn't the case.
Right,
So it was so wonderful to have that opportunity to share Anna's story. Now you have a daughter. And does it ever cross your mind that she may be carrying this?
Along with everything else that's going on in the world, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that crossed my mind. But yeah, it's definitely. It's hard to say though because we didn't have a family history of cancer, and so it was totally unexpected when my sister was diagnosed, and so I'm hopeful that it isn't anything that's that runs in the family. Right. But yeah, it's crossed my mind a little bit, and I can't say obviously she's still young now, but it's happening in young women too. So it definitely crossed my mind, and I hope that there's we would hope for a cure, or just a better way to treat it if it ever does happen.
So now Danny, your daughter,
that's right,
has even started running with you.
She's gone on occasion. She was a little more about it whenever she was smaller than she is now. I mean, just this morning she was saying her ankle hurts because we were walking to school. so I don't know if she's just. But when I get her out there as much as I can. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun to.
And she's too big to push in the stroller now though. So.
And she's. What, 5, 6?
She's 5,
just,
going on 6, or going on teenager.
Going on teenager, yeah, that's more like it. So what other dreams do you have for her? What dreams do you have for her?
I want her to be obviously a strong, independent woman. And if I could take all of her pains away and all of her health. Thankfully, she doesn't have any serious health issues, so hopefully she never does in the future. But just for her to be a strong woman and to be independent and be empowered, and be able to make decisions for herself, about her own body. That's what I want for her.
Well, she certainly has that opportunity with her mother,
Sure.
who is Helen is very much a strong, independent woman. Definitely. Yes, and she's a dentist.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so. There's lots of different medical connects here and within your own life. And that's so interesting. So you said you had big plans for 30 for Anna. And how can people find out more about it? How can they support it?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit more about what we can do.
Sure. So again, we've kind of downscaled a little bit, but our plan right now is just to raise as much as we can for the Rose. So it's whenever Breast Cancer Awareness Month rolls around, we'll be hitting all our contacts and trying to get as much support as we can, whether it's donations or whatever kind of support. I mean, so that's our focus, right? Is just to bring as much money in as we can.
Right. And again, Daniel, you just said we've raised $200,000. It's about $220 now. Right. And if you think about it, you are our 30 for Anna is our second highest third-party fundraiser. So, that's just been a godsend through all these years when funding has been tough. And so we so look forward to, besides just the fun of being with your family and meeting everybody again, seeing them again. So anything else that you think about with Anna?
Yeah, so as far as our story, the family story, so obviously Anna was diagnosed in 2005 and passed away in 2010, and then my brother-in-law, Anna's husband, Jerry, he remarried a few years later, and Aurora, she's a big part of our family now. She's like my sister. She's a big part of our family. She loves Anna's kids, and they're her kids now, and she's seen them grow up. And it was unfortunate. You know, we always think the statistics of, okay, well, it's not going to happen to me. Well, you know, Jerry remarried, like I said, and in 2009, 2 days after Jerry's birthday, Aurora, his current wife, was diagnosed with breast cancer. And like I said, you think about, I think the statistics are 1 in 6 or something, but in this case, you know, it was, and we were just kind of, I mean, our jaws dropped whenever, you know, it happened again. You know, it's just like, what are the odds? And, but, you know, thankful for the Rose, she came in here and they were able to diagnose her and, you know, navigate her to MD Anderson. She got her treatment and I believe she's in remission now. So that's good. But it's just, you know, it's hard to believe, you know, that it could happen to, I mean, obviously to Jerry, you know, twice. And she has a great support. She has a great family, a great support system. So she's got a lot of support there too.
Oh yeah. But yes, you're right. When Jerry tells a story, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah. You know, it just unbelievable. But how much your families had to come together over such sad situations. Sure. You know, that is kind of incredible. I know this is nothing we've ever talked about, but you just know your family comes from a lot of faith, believes and has that strong understanding, you know, because they're all so loving and so willing to give. Yeah. So Daniel, thank you for being with us today. Again, Daniel was here talking about 30 for Anna, a 30-mile run for his big sister. And it's to raise money for young women and to bring more awareness to inflammatory breast cancer. So until we meet again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk About Your Breasts. This podcast is produced by Freddie Cruz Creative Works and brought to you by The Rose. Visit therose.org to learn more about our organization. Subscribe to our podcast, share episodes with friends, and join the conversation on social media using hashtag Let's Talk About Your Breasts. We welcome your feedback and suggestions. Consider supporting The Rose. Your gift can make the difference to a person in need. And remember, self-care is not selfish. It's essential.